Welcome back to My Legacy Garage. I got a special treat for you today. Farm fresh, right out of a chicken house. It's got a fun story behind it. We're going to see if we can make it run. Stick around. The story behind this truck is that it's been sitting for a good 15, 16 years since the last time it was run. And we're going to see how true that is. One way to tell, glove box. As you can see, there's really not a lot of clues in here, but we're going to dig and see what we can find. I do know that the truck was originally from Virginia, and that does look to be true based upon what I've seen so far, including the handy dandy keychain from Virginia. The last registration that I could come up with was from 1988. However, there's this inspection ticket in there from 2004 that says the mileage was 17,665. It's currently 17,742. So I'd guess it was probably parked sometime in '04. This truck obviously had a loving owner at some point. It's got records of everything that was done to it, all the way up just over 85,000 miles. As you can see, it's got a great patina, and it really doesn't have a lot of rust. It's pretty solid. I'm going to walk you around and let you take a look at it. But first, let's take a look where it came from. This old girl popped up on Facebook Marketplace, and it took me a little bit of time to get a hold of the fellow that was selling it. Turns out he was trying to clear out a barn full of all sorts of miscellaneous Chevy everything. And he was getting rid of this thing first of all, and I was lucky enough to snag it. Now, he wanted to keep the sideboards off of it, and I didn't have any use for him, so that was fine. And he did manage to dig up the tailgate for me as well. So we had a tractor drag her out of there and brought her home. It's got a 327 in it, standard truck engine, really nothing super special. What really stood out to me about this truck, though, was these numbers up here on the firewall, right behind the distributor, and then over behind the brake booster. I think they're from the factory. We're going to start up here on this front corner. You can see she's got a little rot down on the bottom of that fender. Otherwise, pretty solid, except for the very back of this fender. And then, of course, the rocker's rotten. The cab corner's rotten. But look at this bed. I mean, no rot in the bed. Nothing. It's amazing. Not only that, this thing obviously had a cap on it for most of its life. Look at this bed. It's amazing. I can't even believe it. There's no holes in it anywhere. It's not rusty. Not only that, it was pouring down rain 3 days ago when it got shoved in this garage. It's still full of water. Same thing on this side. Again, not rusty. Not at all. Even the frame is in nice shape. It's got some love dings across the front here. Nothing terrible though. Rot in the front of the fender. Rot in the back of the fender. This rocker's not quite as bad. Look at the cab corner. How about that? Let's look inside. Pretty standard old Chevy truck. They didn't really make them for luxury back in the day. But it's all here. And it's in pretty decent shape. Check this out, y'all. We have got a V8. We got power brakes. We got power steering. Not only that, it's still got these numbers on the firewall. 358 there. And over there with a letter R above it. I'm pretty sure those are factory inspections. I don't think this truck has really been molested in any way. I've had a lot of Chevy trucks. I mean a lot. Believe it or not, this is my first one of this vintage. I've had, you know, the 73s when they switched them over and they came to the square bodies that everybody knows and loves. I've had a ton of those trucks. But this is a 68. I've never had a 68 before. It's got a 3 on the tree, which brings me to why I bought it. It got parked because supposedly the transmission is junk and it won't come out of gear. So the very first thing I did when I rolled it in here is, if anybody who knows anything about 3 on the trees, they jam up right on the column in there, and I stuck my hand down in there and got a hold of that linkage and popped it up, and lo and behold, it's out of gear. I mean, they were so convinced this transmission was trashed, they unhooked the drive shaft just so they could move it around. Well, the underside of the bed looks even better than the top side. I would say it's safe to say that that drive shaft has been unhooked a long time and laying in the dirt. The caps are missing off of the U-joint, but it turns now. How about that, huh? Well, I suppose one of the first things we need to do is get a battery in the old girl here and see what works and what doesn't. So let's see, we've got red for the ground. That makes sense. That seems like a good idea. So let's go ahead and hook this guy up and we'll see what happens. Alright, battery's in it. Let's check the oil. Wow, look at that. It's full right to the full mark. Looks good. Doesn't smell like gas or anything. Doesn't look like it has any water in it. Let's see if she spins over. Well, that's disconcerting. All right, let's try that again. Well, the electric magic stuff works. Now I suppose we got to worry about sparkage. And this stuff isn't looking too hot. Wow. Yeah, I'm thinking it's time for a tune-up. Let's see what we can do about that. We're going to go ahead and pop a spark plug out of here and just see what it looks like. Oh, it wasn't too tight. It's even turning out by hand. How does that happen? It looks sooty and oily and like a tired old engine, which, what do you expect? As far as I know, it's original. It's got 117,000 miles on it. It deserves a rest. But we're going to wake it up. That's what we're going to do. Let's see if we can get any spark out of the old girl. Well, I sure don't see or hear anything. I think we need to dig a little deeper. As you can see, we fast forward a little bit. We got spark plugs out of that side, and we've got spark plugs out of that side. They don't look completely horrible, but there's definitely room for improvement. I popped the distributor cap, and it looks pretty good in there, honestly. And the rotor button looks pretty good too, but I think we're going to change on them anyway. I also picked up a new coil for it because, I don't know, that one just looks crusty, and it's a tired old engine. I want to give it the best chance to fire that it's got. So let's go ahead and slap that in there and see if we don't get rid of our no spark problem. Well, we've got a new coil put in it. I cleaned the points. Cap and rotor really don't look bad. I think I'm going to leave them and just see how it goes, and then I can return parts if I don't need them. What do you guys do when you try and get a project like this going? Do you just replace everything, or do you try and pick and choose what you replace and save money? Because I'm really frugal, so if I can get away without spending money, that's what I'm going to do. What sort of projects y'all working on this weekend? Drop her down there in the comment section. I'd love to see. I'd love to see a good vehicle and a good story that goes with it. And don't forget to subscribe. We're going to do more with this truck. Clean it up, probably clear coat it just like it is, get it on the road. We've got to fix that U-joint. There'll be more to come, so if you want to see what happens with it, make sure you subscribe. Alright, I've got 8 new spark plugs for this thing. And I think before we go throwing them in, let's button that cap back up and put a wire on and stick one down here and see if it does anything. Okay. On closer inspection of this here rotor button, I discovered she's really quite rusty. So I think we're going to go ahead and put the new rotor button in there and see what that does. Alright, go for it. Okay. No spark. Still no spark. Alright, got new points, new condenser. Let's go ahead and test it and see if we've got spark coming out of the coil, and then hopefully that translates to spark at the spark plugs. Oh yeah! Well, by golly, that ought to do the trick. Let's make her run. Alright, y'all, here we go. We're going to give her a little liquid motivation down in here. A little carb cleaner. Let's see what it does. Oh yeah, she's gonna run. Yes, she is. Alright. Let's give her another go. How do you like them beans? It even idles. And Lord knows how old that fuel is it's running on. Would you look at that? She's even got great oil pressure. Man, this truck runs so good, she'll fire right up. God, man, it's hot out here. It's a little smoky in here now. Well, she's a runner. Sounds pretty healthy. Maybe needs a touch of tuning still, but that's going to be a fun truck. Hope you come around next time here on My Legacy Garage. Hit that subscribe button. See what we do next. I'm going to put that U-joint in or take her for a ride. That'd be